In recent weeks, Russia has been hit with a string of setbacks. Ukraine seized an island in the Black Sea. President Vladimir Putin's summer offensive collapsed in failure, and Russia is losing ground in the Tsushima region. Yet, these pale in comparison to Ukraine's latest achievement. In a stunning move, Ukraine outmaneuvered Russia, leaving Moscow in an unprecedented bind. In what's being called one of Putin's most humiliating defeats, Ukraine exposed critical details about one of Russia's most advanced nuclear submarines, revealing information to the world that Moscow desperately wanted to keep secret. On August 4, Business Insider reported that Ukraine successfully stole a trove of classified documents from Russia's newest nuclear submarine, the Kaspisky, a Borei-class vessel. This isn't just any submarine. It's a prized asset of Russia's fleet, guarded with the highest security. Despite this, Ukraine's military intelligence agency, HER, accessed documents that only a select few in Russia were authorized to see. Russian intelligence has stayed silent on how Ukraine pulled this off, which is no surprise. The theft suggests either Ukraine planted a deep cover operative within Russia's navy, or a key crew member of the Kaspisky was compromised. Releasing any details beyond the leaked documents could endanger those involved in gathering this intelligence. If there was any doubt about Ukraine's claims, Russia's reaction confirmed their validity. The documents are now publicly accessible on HUR's Telegram channel. Ukraine's intelligence agency released 10 pages of classified material, proving they're not just keeping Russia's secrets for themselves. They want the world to know what Russia is doing with its nuclear submarines. It's a bold message to Putin that Ukraine is playing a high-stakes game. The obvious question is, what do these documents reveal? For starters, Ukraine and the world now know the identity of every crew member aboard the Kaspisky. According to RBC Ukraine, the documents go beyond names, detailing each sailor's role, expertise, and even physical condition. This is critical intelligence, showing what qualities Russia seeks in personnel trusted with one of its most valuable nuclear assets. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. RBC Ukraine reported that the documents include operational directives for the crew, meaning Ukraine knows the Kaspisky's planned movements for the coming months. Stolen design and construction documents also reveal how Russia builds its submarines and the survival systems installed to protect their vulnerabilities. Ukraine now knows exactly what those vulnerabilities are. Additionally, Ukraine obtained standard operating procedures for the submarine, such as cargo transfers and medical care for the injured. Finally, excerpts from the ship's log expose the daily operations of the Kaspisky and its crew. All this information was supposed to be top secret before it was leaked online. Previously, the world only knew what Russia chose to share about the Kaspisky, such as its role as a cornerstone of Russia's nuclear triad, equipped with 16 launch tubes capable of firing R-30 Bulava intercontinental ballistic missiles. Each missile can carry up to 10 nuclear warheads, meaning the Kaspisky could deliver 160 warheads to any target Putin selects. It's also known that the Kaspisky is assigned to the 31st Submarine Division of Russia's Northern Fleet, based in Murmansk, Russia. Putin personally approved its commissioning on July 24th. Less than 2 weeks later, Ukraine had uncovered everything worth knowing about the submarine, far beyond what Russia disclosed. While Russia's military touted the Kaspisky as a formidable nuclear threat, Ukraine's revelations show how to counter it. Putin has every reason to be furious. Ukraine's theft of Russia's most sensitive submarine documents has created a cascade of problems for Moscow, starting with the loss of a submarine's greatest asset, stealth. In December 2021, the University of New South Wales noted that this stealth advantage serves militaries in multiple ways, discussing Australia's pursuit of nuclear-powered submarines. They emphasized that submarines operate covertly underwater, undetectable from above unless they surface. This stealth makes submarines ideal for intelligence gathering, naval reconnaissance, and positioning nuclear weapons within striking range of adversaries. Secrecy is why submarines are effective deterrents at both conventional and nuclear levels, as conflict analyst Paul Wadberg explained in a report on the Russian document leak. Anyone familiar with submarine warfare knows a submarine's sole purpose is to protect a nation's most critical operations with utmost secrecy. Wadberg stressed that without secrecy, a submarine is no more useful than a surface ship, easily detected, tracked, and destroyed. Most successful attacks target surface ships, aircraft, or other anti-submarine vessels. The locations of the world's submarines are rarely known unless explicitly revealed. A nuclear submarine like the Kaspisky should be able to hide, launch missiles, and retreat undetected. This secrecy is designed to instill fear, reinforcing the submarine's deterrence against potential enemies. Thanks to Ukraine, the fear surrounding what the Kaspisky is doing and where it is has evaporated. As Wadberg noted, much of a Russian nuclear submarine's power lies in the fear it inspires, rooted in its secrecy. By exposing the Kaspisky's secrets, Ukraine has put Russia on the defensive. Not only the Kaspisky, but the entire Borei class, Russia's most advanced nuclear submarines, has been compromised. The Kaspisky remains dangerous, still armed with nuclear-capable missiles, but it's now trackable and containable, like a surface ship. The fear has been replaced by knowledge. The second problem this leak creates for Russia is that Moscow must find a way to make the Kaspisky operationally viable again. Putin can't ignore this and hope it resolves itself. With Ukraine knowing the Kaspisky's routes and schedules, they could potentially launch an attack on the vessel. Ukraine has a history of challenging Russia's navy. Since Putin's invasion began, Ukraine has destroyed a third of Russia's once feared Black Sea fleet using missiles and drones. Those were surface ships operating near Ukraine, but submarines are a different challenge. Still, evidence suggests Ukraine is willing to target the Kaspisky even far from its borders. Recently, Ukraine attacked oil tankers in Russia's Shadow Fleet. According to a Minden, Ukraine accessed several Shadow Fleet vessels, including the Echo Wizard. While docked at Russia's Luga port, the Echo Wizard was crippled by 2 explosions in its engine room, damaging the hull and causing it to sink as water flooded in. The Echo Wizard was far from Ukraine. There's no guarantee Ukraine couldn't execute a similar sabotage operation against the Kaspisky. The leaked documents didn't appear out of nowhere. Someone had to retrieve and deliver them to Ukraine. As Wadberg noted, Russia's nuclear systems have clearly been deeply infiltrated, and adversaries can exploit this vulnerability. Ukraine knows it can't compete with Russia in a direct naval war. They don't even have submarines, as global firepower's military rankings indicate. Yet, Ukraine's destruction of Russia's Shadow Fleet ships shows they can deploy agents to distant territories to harm Russia. This may have happened with the Kaspisky. Those agents could still have access to the submarine. A few well-placed bombs could sink the Kaspisky, if Ukraine chooses. Putin must worry not only about Ukraine's covert agents, but also about the possibility that Russia failed to secure the Kaspisky's information. Russia's military is notoriously susceptible to corruption. Warburg highlighted that during Russia's invasion of Ukraine, corruption significantly contributed to failures, with soldiers often equipped with substandard gear and inadequate supplies across all ranks. Corruption is, or was, a systemic issue in Russia's military, one Putin cannot easily eradicate. In February, reports revealed soldiers could pay bribes ranging from $7,000 to $30,000 to avoid deployment to Ukraine. These services were offered through online forums, varying by a soldier's status and assignment, showing money's influence in Russia's military. It's unclear who received these bribes or provided the services. However, someone high-ranking in Russia's military likely controls who fights and who doesn't, profiting handsomely from such bribes. In October 2024, the Jamestown Foundation highlighted new corruption schemes fueling Russia's. Police in various Russian regions received $100 bonuses for each detainee they convinced to sign military contracts. Money laundering networks claimed to raise funds for the front, but those funds rarely reached soldiers, likely lining the pockets of military patriotic organization leaders. In March, the Center for European Policy Analysis noted that this entrenched corruption could be exploited by Western nations. They reported that 40% of Russia's military budget for new weapons might be inflated due to bribes expected by senior officials awarding contracts. According to the Corruption Perceptions Index, Russia is 3 to 4 times more corrupt than Germany, France, or the UK, a record tied closely to its procurement deals, per 6 reports. Time and again, money drives Russia's military. It's not far-fetched to assume some Kaspisky crew members were open to bribes. Ukraine only needed to identify who was willing to cooperate, and they'd have all the information needed about Russia's new nuclear submarine. If corruption has infiltrated the Kaspisky, Russia has one option: take the submarine out of service. Even without corruption or Ukraine's infiltration, Russia may need to return the submarine to sea. Ukraine knows everything about the submarine's crew, a clear vulnerability. These sailors could be bribed or targeted if necessary. Warburg emphasized this in his analysis, stating that in any capable nation, losing this level of information might prompt them to seriously consider docking their submarines indefinitely. He argued that when an enemy knows not just a few crew members, but the entire roster of all submarines, they have a vast pool of individuals to bribe or coerce into sabotaging their own systems or betraying their comrades. Putin cannot allow this. Thus, Putin is almost forced to take the Kaspisky out of service until the entire crew can be replaced. This leads to the next problem Ukraine has caused Russia, a severe blow to Russia's nuclear triad, or rather, another blow. The triad has had a rough year. In late July, Russia was hit by an earthquake-triggered tsunami, damaging critical infrastructure, including a key submarine base housing at least one nuclear attack submarine. In June, Ukraine launched Operation Spiderweb, targeting 4 key Russian air bases after smuggling numerous drones into Russia via trucks. Al Jazeera reported that the attack may have destroyed up to a third of Russia's strategic bomber fleet, including aircraft capable of deploying nuclear weapons. The land-based component of Russia's nuclear triad fared no better. Last year saw multiple failed intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM launches. In September 2024, CNN published satellite imagery showing Russia's new Sarmat ICBM test failed catastrophically, exploding on the ground. By May 2025, Pravda reported a similar failure with a Yars ICBM, which never left the launch pad. Russia's nuclear triad, land, sea, and air, has taken hit after hit. Ukraine's theft of critical submarine documents underscores Russia's reliance on nuclear weapons to project power. They can't do that if their weapons are destroyed, malfunctioning, or exposed by Ukraine's covert operations. As Warburg put it, all three components of Russia's nuclear triad are crippled, reducing the strategic ambiguity Russia needs to make nuclear threats, such as against the United States. Crippled might be strong, as Russia still has nuclear weapons and likely retains some launch capability. But its ability to project power is not what Putin needs. Adding to this, Russia is now grappling with Ukraine's infiltration. Operation Spiderweb and the Kaspisky document theft show Ukraine can penetrate Russia's most sensitive military areas, even at the nuclear level. Ukraine is exploiting this vulnerability in unprecedented ways. The Kaspisky leak is great news for Russia's adversaries, including the United States. It's even better news for the US, as President Donald Trump recently ordered 2 nuclear submarines toward Russia. While these US submarines operate covertly, Russia's are now exposed.